MIT did a report this past summer that 95% of AI projects are not realizing business value, right? There isn't productivity value in those tools, but those tools are not an AI strategy.
And it's the wrong tool for the wrong need. Somebody asked me about Canva. Do you know what Canva is?
Meet Christopher Carter, a multi-time founder, lead investor, best-selling author of Mastering SAP with AI, and also provides global AI leadership. He works with SAP software and AI, focusing on helping organizations become bigger, better, stronger, and faster.
AI is currently being sold primarily as a productivity tool, but from a business perspective, it's not. It's almost a fundamental infrastructure component.
And I'm really sick and tired of too many of them saying, well, it's the AI that's going to get us. No, you either failed as leadership and you're downsizing because you're not selling and your company's not even using AI.
Did you make a big step back strategy approach to how you were going to take advantage of AI? Or did you just look at some solutions and say, hey, let's just use ChatGPT. Let's just try this.
We were working with systems and working on activities. We didn't call it AI, we called it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the AI for Business Owners podcast brought to you by Syngen AI. If you have questions about AI or you have interesting stories to tell about AI or you want to ask stuff, get in touch with us. Hit us on the website, syngen.ai. If you mention the podcast, you get a special offer. All right. Today's guest is Chris. Chris, introduce yourself and tell us what you got going on.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I'm Chris Carter. I am actually a multi-time founder and best-selling author, and I'm currently working with SAP software. I'm working with AI. My biggest passion right now is trying to help make people bigger, better, stronger, and faster with AI. And as a part of that, one of my 4 companies that I've got running right now is using homomorphic encryption with agentic AI and predictive analytics to be able to support these organizations that are running AI in their facilities and in data centers. And it's making for what I keep calling bigger, better, faster, stronger, and cheaper if organizations are going to actually do it right. So it's
very interesting. Okay. There's a few different things in there I want to touch on, but what's your latest bestseller book?
It is actually Mastering SAP with AI.
Interesting. Okay. Let me ask a question. From the perspective of SAP, most people think of SAP as an enterprise software package.
Correct.
Do you think that's true? Do you think there's a spot for SMB? Is there a pricing for SMB, or is it really focused on enterprise?
Yeah, I really think that they've got two. It's the same platform, but there's 2 different variations. One is for the enterprise and one is for the SMB market. Our line share of organizations we help are the SMB space. We license them, we manage them, we build out their AI infrastructure, we build out their security technology around their AI. So they have one database of truth, and that database then is homomorphically encrypted to make sure that nobody else can steal that data. And you see all that data lost these days. So we really firmly believe that the SMB market has more customer availability for the SAP teams than any other market. And it's proven itself actually truthful for SAP. If you look at their quarterly reports, they sell their licensing and their S4 Rise platform to more companies in the SMB profile than anybody else.
Very interesting. All right, that last one, let's just hit that one again and clear that up. So homomorphic encryption, I'll lead the witness so that you can explain it correctly, but I was under the impression that you needed custom hardware to do homomorphic encryption correctly. So how does that work? What is the difference between encryption and homomorphic encryption, and why is there a benefit there? Quickly.
Yeah, you need to modify and deal with infrastructure as well as cloud and how you're doing it. But really, at the end of the day, what it's doing is you've got a set of profiles and objectives that you're looking at in order to encrypt that database to make sure that it never loses its capability to be able to tag with its encryption profiles and taking those encryption profiles and so on and so forth. And it's actually grown quite a bit. It used to be back in many years ago when I was started up, it used to be you had to have this hardware profile with this capability of the database, with this capability. And then it's literally grown out from there, but it still keeps it into that profile piece. We bought a piece of application that actually allowed that to do that of those activities across not only SAP, but other enterprises. No matter if it's SMB, it's ERP, or it's a massive billion-dollar entity, keeping that together. And what we wanted to do is keep it so it was encrypted and then be able to leverage that for the AI capabilities and for the profiles that we used for our LLMs and our SLMs on our go-forward strategy. So homomorphic encryption specifically means that when you encrypt your data, if somebody was to steal any piece or part of that data, they would not be able to bring it up on any other type of a system, even if it matched 100%, because it'll always be 99.99999, and it'll never be that 0.1% or 1/1,000,000th of a percent, because the key codes encrypting that database will never go with that system. And so it keeps it, that's why it keeps it homomorphic. It's only tied to everything here. You can never have it here.
Let's do this. I mean, theoretically, it's a podcast about AI. That's what we're supposed to be talking about, at least. You said you have a couple companies. Are you using AI in your companies personally?
Yes, all three of the technology companies, we absolutely use AI across the board. The fourth one is a pub restaurant. So I sit there on a keyboard in there while I'm drinking whiskey, and thank God the whiskey's not artificially intelligent.
Indeed, yes.
But it does help me sometimes. It's amazing how whiskey helps me with my AI.
I actually think AI has no business in a pub, but that's another conversation. Yeah, I know. You could work on marketing the pub, but you don't have to be in the pub with AI. There should be places where we don't need technology. So technology-free zones. The question I really wanted to ask was, did you make a big step back strategy approach to how you were going to take advantage of AI, sort of look at, pros and cons? Do you adopt this product? Do you build your own? Did you do a whole big strategic analysis, or did you just look at some solutions and say, hey, let's just use ChatGPT. Let's just try this. And which way did you go about trying to push AI from your perspective?
So the first company we'll start with, Approyo. We actually did take a step back, and because that's an SAP cloud-based company managing organizations and structures, we waited and we took baby steps with it. Because I remember back in the day when we were working with systems and working on activities, we didn't call it AI, we called it machine learning back in the day. And so when AI started to come forward and they get really pretty GUIs and started to be able to answer the questions, we wanted to use it for our customer support activities. And so we started putting our customer support details into an environment and started running queries off of that. And actually, we were doing more SLMs than LLMs, because our support system had, even though it had thousands of customers' data, not their data, but our data on how we fixed certain problems, we made sure from those action items that we could leverage that information. And so that's where it started from. But we had taken a couple steps back just to hold off to do some testing and the modifications. And then once that worked, we went full in from a customer support activities, from a being able to spin up clouds, to be able to spin down clouds, to be able to understand time zoning and regioning and different pieces that we wanted to do with not only that, but with cloud-based. So yes, that one really was let's all, and then once that happened, between Charging Bunny and we got to AI, we started from scratch. It was all in AI. Our coding gets done with AI and validated. All of our sales, all of our marketing, all of our review work, all of our customer service activities, our day-to-day support engines are run through our AI tools first and foremost. So yes, once we did that, we saw our eyes opened up at what we could do, and we started building and started leveraging the tools that were available for us.
Yeah, it's good to hear. You're kind of validating an approach that I've been pushing for a while with clients, and that's MIT did a report this past summer that 95% of AI projects are not realizing value, business value, right? And if you dig into that report, the details, most people are just reading the headline, right? But if you dig in, a lot of these companies are using chat solutions for productivity, for personal productivity, and that's fine, but you're not going to generate P&L bump from people writing a little bit shorter emails because the AI, like it's not to suggest that there isn't productivity value in those tools, but those tools are not an AI strategy, right?
Well, and it's the wrong tool for the wrong need.
Yeah, yeah. And
Hey, had somebody asked me about Canva. Hey, why can't we just use Canva? I'm like, do you know what Canva is? It's a sales and marketing, building cute little memes thing.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
for your company. Come on.
Yeah, so this is what I've been working on, and I'm actually in the process of building a white paper around this whole topic, which is if you really want to have the impact, the transformation of your business that AI can provide that we've been promised for a couple of years, right? You have to stop, take a step, build a strategy, come up with a roadmap, and you got to ask yourself some really intense questions that most people aren't asking, right? Like it just as a sample, you know, you're in front of like the leadership of a company, right? How do you want your decision making to operate when you have autonomous software in the mix?
Yes.
And you, deploying ChatGPT is not answering this question, but answering this question starts you to think about, well, wait, I don't know. I need help. And then when you answer those questions, you then can say, this area over here will benefit from AI immediately. We need to POC that right now. This area over here, we don't need to bother for a year. Like there's nothing to do. You know what I'm saying? Right.
100%. And that MIT, and I read that as well. And I just went, well, if you talk to the people who are not doing it and why they're not doing it and how they're not doing it. And I've sat in front of folks and I've asked, okay, you've done AI. What are you doing with it? Oh, we installed some ChatGPT, or we're letting these people use ChatGPT. Well,
or Copilot, the easier one, because Microsoft's shoving it down everybody's throat.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because SAP software literally had a program 2 years ago where because they've got the integrations with Microsoft, SAP and Microsoft have got this love-hate relationship.
Right.
All of a sudden, Copilot was embedded into SAP as long as Word and Excel and Teams. And you're looking at it going, okay, but how are you going to use it and why are you going to use it? And then all of a sudden, SAP came out with this thing called Joule. And you're like, well, that's interesting. It smells the same. It looks the same. Just named differently. And you're doing different things with different templates and different use cases. But at the end of the day, it's a tool. And you hope that individuals, and especially in us technologists, if we're working for a company, I don't care if it's SMB, I don't care if it's ERP, I don't care if it's a Fortune 100 company or the Fortune #1 company in the world. If you're going to use the tool, let's figure out how you use it properly. What areas are you going to use it for? And what data are you going to use against it? I've got companies that literally say, oh, we'll just let everybody use it and we'll open it up. I'm like, why? Why would you want your competitors' data? Why would you want bogus data from somebody else when your data is not even good enough for us to use to start this project?
Yeah, there's a really interesting, this is going to seem like a tangent, but it's actually going to say the same thing that we're talking about. It's just a nice empirical piece of evidence. So there's a tool out there for software developers called Cursor. That's an AI-assisted development tool. I don't want to get too much more deep than that, but that's sufficient, right? But think of it like a productivity tool for a software developer. Cool. For probably 2 years, Cursor has been using Claude and OpenAI models behind the scenes to do the work that it's been doing. And they've gotten very popular and gotten a good following. And, they're charging generally $20 a month for developers, but, per developer. So that becomes a nice revenue stream. What they were able to do is take the information about the way their users are using the tool, the way the assistant is helping write code, all that kind of stuff. And they were able to build their own model. And they just released about a week or so ago. So we're in the middle of, we're just the beginning of November right now. They just released last week, the latest version of Cursor with their own custom model that's 4 times faster at doing development than Claude or OpenAI. What I like about this is their business plan was prove the point by putting out regular Cursor talking to the commercial AIs. If we get enough traction and we generate enough data, we can then train our own model, and our costs of using OpenAI or Claude to drive the business are a sunk cost in the beginning, but as soon as we can train our own model, boom, those costs go to zero, because now we're just talking about, we bought our own GPUs or renting, whatever, it doesn't matter.
However they do that now.
But like, they don't pay for tokens anymore, right? So
Yeah.
now their variable expenses have gone down dramatically. And what I like about this, though, is that it's continual. And this is the thing that I think people are missing. They wouldn't be missing this if it wasn't AI. Well, I'll back up for a second. If we go back 10 or 15 years and you were going to ask, a technology company, the leadership of the company, how are you going to deploy this new technology? Let's say, I don't know, Apple Max, whatever. And how are you going to maintain it? How are you going to reevaluate? How are you going to look at, every year, every 2 years, are you still doing it? Great. And they would have a process for it, and they'd come up with it, and they'd make a thing, and it'd be fine. Nobody's doing that with AI at the moment. And I really think it's a huge miss. It's back again to this strategy problem where, ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 5 are dramatically different. Agentic AI and MCP tools are dramatically different. If you're in the middle of deploying ChatGPT right now, and you're not looking at agentic AI, you are way behind the curve. But again, if your strategy doesn't say, hey, we should be reevaluating, hey, we should be looking into what's the latest data, where are we getting that information? Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but like, the idea that it's continuous is not something people are planning for right now.
Well, that's an absolute great point. I've made this reference point in a couple conferences that I've been speaking at. We used to have continuous upgrade cycles with our applications, with our infrastructure, with our networks, so on. Where is that? As you just stated, Jeff, where is that with our AI? Where is that with our language models? Where is that with our data? Where is that with the tools? We literally have put AI in this box and said, oh, it's going to do it all by itself, and it's going to continue to do it no, we don't have to care about that. Okay, well, you're doing that with everything else in your technology stack, but this one little piece over here that now you're going to rely on for autonomous activity, you're never going to touch. You don't want to touch. You can't touch. You don't know how to touch.
Part of what I've been working with clients regularly now, and I'm harping on it, and I'm doing it everywhere I can. If you don't have an AI strategy, you shouldn't be deploying a single thing.
Yes.
You should stop, shut it all down, go back and get an expert to help you and build a strategy. It doesn't take forever, but if you don't touch these fundamental concepts, you will fail.
Well, it will always fail. It will absolutely fail. And that's part of the dilemma, I think, that organizations, because they're so used to the cycles that we've had, infrastructure, softwares, and so on, that they think that because AI is this self-healing or this other application, that then maybe you've got to deal with it from there.
I've been thinking about this again. I told you I'm writing our white paper, so I've been thinking about a lot about why some of this is happening. AI is currently being sold primarily, ChatGPT, Google, Microsoft, etc., as a productivity tool like it's Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Word, right? But from a business perspective, it's not. It's almost a fundamental infrastructure component, like an ERP. It's really way bigger than a single user's tool on their desktop. And what I mean by that, and I know you'll comment intelligently here in a second, what I mean by this at my level is you can give every employee Word and they'll be better than a typewriter. No one even knows what that word means, but they'll be better than using, an old school system. Great. And it'll improve their productivity. Great. It will not change the way your business operates. But AI deployed correctly, used in the right spots, implemented in the places where you need it the most, can change the way your business operates. And it should be looked at as that level of impact, which is why it needs strategy, as opposed to, we're just going to deploy a chat tool.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to put this chat tool out there. Great. What's the chat tool going to do? Are you going to have it answer anything and everything? Is you going to have it handle AR, HR? Are you going to answer finance? Just because you put a chat tool on your website doesn't mean it can answer anything. And oh, by the way, what database are you going to connect to? That's why I made reference earlier. We took those steps backwards with Approyo from our customer support standpoint. We didn't want and didn't know if everything inside that area was 100% complete, concise, clean data. And that's where a lot of companies mess up is they've got so much data. I have a company that literally told me, Jeff, oh, we've got 27 years worth of data we can leverage.
It's just not positive. No, that's not, that's dangerous.
That is crazy. And I literally looked at the gentleman and I said, so are you sure?
Look, when I hear that, my clients struggle a little bit, but I'm trying to give the right stuff. If you have 27 years worth of processes, you have a huge cleanup thing in front of you. Because, and I know you know this, but I'll, for the audience, right? If you're going to set free the AI system against your HR processes that have existed since 1990, whatever, it's going to answer questions so wrong, you're going to end up in trouble, right? Think of it just a benign example. Hey, HR chatbot, only available internally, only available to employees. Hey, HR chatbot, do we get bonuses this year? And the HR chatbot looks at the document from 2019 and says, everybody gets bonuses. When in 2020, post-pandemic, bonuses were eradicated, right? And if you don't have a way for it to differentiate and clean that data before you train it, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah, and that's the problem. They think that all this data is good data. And the problem is all that data is bad data because it's never been gone through. It's never been validated. You and I are on the same page. And so for the listeners, when you go out there and you make the decision you want to utilize AI in some way, shape, or form, make sure your data is clean first. I don't care if you talk to Jeff and I, you talk to somebody else.
Right. Doesn't matter.
Because and then, here's a great one, because they uploaded all that data into ChatGPT. Okay, well, now you just gave all of your data to the publicly available ChatGPT for everybody. And now everybody gets to see your data. And it's probably still dirty no matter what.
Right.
But now it's just going to be up and for the etherverse for everybody to see and to be able to use. And that's not a good thing either for anybody.
If you're doing it on your own, and I don't recommend it because there's a whole bunch of pitfalls we're not covering, but if you're doing it on your own, only upload the latest data.
Yes.
Don't upload all the data. If it turns out that the latest data isn't enough, upload a little more.
No more than 24 months. Start with 12, and we'd prefer you do 6, 12, maybe 18, then 24, but don't go beyond 24 months because the world's changed in 24 months. Just think of how we were still coming out of the pandemic. There's activities. So those numbers are going to be skewed. And then if you're starting to use now, okay, well, at least you've got this information, that information, and you're going forward. So keep it in that regard.
There's so many little pieces that we can dive forever. I don't want to derail everyone, but I do want the general idea, right? You need a strategy. Your data needs to be accurate. And honestly, my advice would be assign someone or a team, depending on how big you are, and just get the pollution out of the data. Figure out what you're saying, months. I agree with that. Get the bad data out, and you'll see so much more progress with the way you implement and use AI because it will be using accurate data. The corollary is build a data update policy. Because if you train an AI today on today's processes, in 12 months, what's it going to be teaching, talking, and answering?
Completely different at some point in time.
Right?
Yeah.
So you've got to remove that data and put the updates in, and you've got to have a process that says, when we change, here's how we get the AI to know. Like, there's a lot to it. And it sounds arduous. It's not arduous. It's just, this is why I keep harping on the concept of strategy, planning, and a roadmap. You just got to put a little bit of intelligence in front of it, and then you can get the benefit out of it.
And if you do it every time it's going forward, you don't have to be bleeding edge. Be cutting edge, and you just continue the process. Every month you've got this process, and every month. So instead of waiting 12 months when it's a massive amount of work and energy and activities, every month is just a small amount of details. You're then working through that process on a monthly basis, and you've got either your person or your people that are taking on those pieces of the puzzle that you need to do. What it's the old saying, you can't eat a whale with one bite.
Right.
So your whale's full of data and your whales of activities, 1 month at a time. Maybe even if you got somebody that you want to do every 2 weeks, depending upon amount of data that's coming into your repositories, or blog spheres. It's up to you and us to help figure it out.
Yeah, one of the other components that I think is super relevant in there is what's your internal update cycle. And what I mean by that is how quickly do you uptake technology? And your comment about bleeding edge.
Leading towards your cutting edge.
Right? Maybe you want your company to be a quarter behind so that a lot of the... So years ago, people used to say, right, software is never good until version 3.
Yes.
And the reason that was true from a 30 years software development career is that version 1 of the software never has all the features everybody wants, is riddled with bugs because it's never on time. And eventually the business goes, just ship it and we'll deal with it. Right? Cool. So then version 2 attempts to fix all the bugs that were in version 1 and try to shove in the features that were missing.
Yep.
But that never actually arises correctly, and version 2 generally isn't sufficient. But what does happen is by the time version 2 is out, the company's getting enough feedback from real world customers about how to really use the software that by the time we get to version 3, it has the features it needs, the bugs that it needs are fixed. Like it's now finally the software it's supposed to be.
100% correct.
And in this context, an LLM release might need a quarter to bake before some of the craziness is worked out and it's stable and ready to use. The other thing that I've seen, unfortunately, happen in the last 2 years that just needs a little bit of thought process is if you're building an AI solution, whether it's an internal homegrown tool or whatever, don't tie it directly internally, like in the code, to a particular model or vendor.
No, be agnostic. We variable, allow it to breathe and think, and for your people to bring in different things. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to use GPT 4.1. Okay, well, hang on. Make that a variable. At least test it with Claude. At least test it with, just see what happens. Because if it stops, if it changes, if OpenAI says, we're not doing 4.1 anymore, you're in trouble. Sorry. This almost sounds like an episode of From the Trenches, but
yeah, we both been there.
It's fine. I really, from the perspective of just trying to help, my whole intention for folks is here's how to not have 95% of your projects fail.
That's exactly it. We don't sit here to try to tell you these stories to scare you. You and I both were talking off the air earlier, bigger, better, stronger, faster, and then possible cheaper. That's how this process can work, should work. As human beings, we are always going to be involved in AI in one way, shape, or form. So you need to be bigger, better, stronger, and faster on the knowledge and the capabilities, the multiple tools that are out there. You can't and shouldn't just focus on this is the only one I'm going to learn when there's so many different variations. And now you just saw some of the components come out this morning about the new Getty image activities. Well, they're the only one using it. How are you going to know when you're building images or you're going off into this sphere? And that's more of a sales and marketing activity, but still, you look at the different AI tools, and you as a human being need to be bigger, better, stronger, faster, because at the end of the day, and I just told this to one of the universities that I spoke at, how are we going to hire you if you've never used AI before in your life? We need you to understand these tools because these tools are not going away, and they're going to be the ones that help our companies become bigger, better, stronger, and faster. And you have to be that.
I mean, there's a lot of really crazy things happening in the employment market now and probably for the last year, maybe 2.
Companies are using that as an excuse, though. And I'm really sick and tired of that. Too many of them saying, well, it's the AI that's going to get us. No, yes, it's not the AI. It's you either failed as leadership and you're downsizing because you're not selling and your tools aren't even, your company's not even using AI. There's a company that I hear all the time that they're downsizing this. And my first comment is they've never installed AI in their company ever because I know the company. I know the CIO. They're a bunch of BS. Don't let them get away with it.
Yeah, so what I think happens on that side of the equation, I think there's 2 pieces to this. On that side of the equation, companies will always cut costs, and obviously labor is one of the largest costs. There's a legality component here, which is why we're hearing the things we're hearing. Depending on where you have employees, depending on the states, there are legal implications for how or why you let someone go. And at the moment, suggesting you're replacing someone with AI is currently deemed not something that you'll get sued for.
Same thing in Germany. You've got to
Right.
go up in front of the employment boards, and you got to
Yep.
go in Europe in these different boards. AIs, I don't have to hire. Oh,
Right.
I'm not
And
filling that spot.
so it becomes a very useful scapegoat,
Yes.
whether or not it has anything to do with reality. Is, the attorneys at the company saying, this is why everything's happening. Just say it this way. And so we
Yes.
don't have to worry about that. And that does completely skew and inflate the whole, well, losing jobs to AI. Well, I'm sure that's true in some regards. The other side of the equation that we're seeing at the moment, and the one that's sort of a little bit more difficult to deal with, is that there aren't a lot of jobs out there posted for people to apply to. No one's hiring.
That is true too.
Yes, they're losing people in lying about why they're using it. It's always about cost. The other answers are all nonsense, but you got to hide in scapegoats. So that's why, well, we're doing an AI project and we don't need these people anymore. Sure you are. But also they're not posting jobs.
Not posting.
And that is a different one, because that one, you can use an AI agent to apply to 100 jobs, but if none of those jobs are real or they're not hiring or whatever, all you did was waste time with an AI agent that pummels your resume out there. They didn't, accomplish anything. That's a bigger one. I don't actually have a good thought about how to address or resolve it, because I don't think there's anything a candidate can do from that side of the equation.
Not yet.
If
No,
they're not
it's-
hiring, they're not hiring. There's just not a lot you can do, right?
No, if you're not hiring, you're not hiring.
Yeah. It's a really, I actually don't know that we've seen this scenario. I mean, I've been in the industry
No, not
for
at all.
more than 30 years. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
No, I agree. You and I are in the same boat. We haven't seen this, and I do hope it changes around. I think there will be some modifications and changes in the years ahead. But as of right now, if they're not willing to hire and they're not posting the jobs and they're not, unless you know somebody who knows somebody that's inside of an organization that says, God, they really need these.
Since we're here, is there a contrast? Maybe there isn't, but for any of the companies, did you not take a strategic approach? Did you just fire off a tool and can you compare how?
No, I'm so OCD, ADD,
Oh, okay.
HD, and
Figured
I'm
maybe.
strategic on everything. I do have staff members that, who lead different parts of our organization. And I give our team some pretty wide range to be able to have some fun and do some things and to try different things. Our sales and marketing team picked up different AI tools and ran with those, from Gamma to Suno to UD. Then we dealt with some of our, as a matter of fact, we use Cursor AI to do some validation on codes and pieces with that. And that came from one of our, we call them our ABAP.NET Java developer teams in the SAP ecosystem. And they started playing with those and asked if we could be more cognizant of the tools and let's play. So they started doing that. We sat down, we have our team members and executives that will work across, and between my CIO, myself, a couple of other senior level technical staff members that manage teams. We walk through them and we had presentations by our team. We actually have our team members present us and demo us before we in any of those organizations from a business standpoint, because we wanted to make sure that they were comfortable. This is what they liked, who liked them, why did they like them? And then before anything got skewed by any of those organizations, that's where we started that process.
Got it. No, I like that. It's a nice approach. A couple of my clients I've recommended to create a little skunkworks team of people that are just playing what if and not. The idea behind the concept or mentally there is 1 in 10 might actually give you something valuable, 1 in 10 experiments. So you're just funding, maybe it's a day a week for these, whatever. It depends on what your structure is, but go play, go try the wild idea, go try the fun thing and see what you can do, because an empirical demonstration of capability is way better than reading about it. One of the problems right now in the industry is there's a lot of voices, we'll call them influencers for lack of a better phrase, who talk about a level of automation they achieve with different AI tools and stringing things together, whatever, that I don't think are viable in the real world, are viable for them to have a story, to make a YouTube video, whatever. But in my experience, for the clients that I work with, I want things that are actually going to work for people in the real business. And a lot of these, use NNN and do this, do that. Yeah, you can get there, but okay, you can send out a lot of automated emails. are you closing anything? Like, is it, so I don't bite at the moment. I'm not against it. I just don't bite that the automation will absolutely work all the time, and because I know how infallible or fallible everything is. I mean, I look non-deterministically at about an 80% success, my opinion, right? So I like, on the chat side, the productivity enhancer of help me write this, right? Give me some good suggestions, and I'll pick out the piece I like and I'll write. But the AI gave me some good, bullets or whatever, and I like that's a cool phrasing. I like the way some cool words. Sure. I use it as an assistant or an inspiration more than anything, but I don't go, hey, write this for me. It's just not me.
I love the updating. Hey, I've got this idea. Help me expand upon it. I drink tons of this liquid, and sometimes I get overexcited, or I'm this, and I come up with these ideas, and I'll throw them in there, and what do you think about this idea? If I did this type of a concept, is there something I could draw out of this? And asking it, hey, can I draw more details? Can I do this? Asking it those things and then growing it. I love being able to grow my answers. And then I can go into my answers and I feed back and forth. And that's why I like the Google Gemini. I can have a real conversation with it, and I feel like I'm having more of a conversation with it. And it just gives me that ability to bounce my ideas off by somebody who's got some intelligence. And so if any of my staff is listening to this, you are all intelligent. Sometimes need it immediately, not waiting you for you to answer me on Teams or Slack.
All right, Chris, I think it's been a really fantastic conversation. I'm glad to have talked to you. I learned a bunch of stuff. Hopefully you got something useful in there for yourself.
Oh, you're awesome. I always appreciate you. I love the show.
Thank you very much. I'll give you the last word. Anything you want to say to close it out?
Well, I appreciate everybody. If you're ever looking to learn something bigger, better, stronger, faster, and just want to have a conversation, I say it all the time. Go to my LinkedIn page or go to my personal Twitters and stuff. If you ever have a question and it's just stumping you and ChatGPT can't answer it for you, just find me. I'm more than willing to talk. I travel the globe and I'm always answering questions for folks. And I just love helping people become bigger, better, stronger, faster. So I'm here to help.
Awesome. All right. Thanks very much, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye, everybody.